is an employee that doesn't really want to work within the system. You can't make anybody sign anything that they don't want to. So if they don't sign it, they don't sign it. You just put refuse to sign. What it does is it does prevent, especially when it does ultimately result in a potential discharge, is that you can present to the deputy and or the hearing officer that, listen, had this person signed this, I probably wouldn't have fired them because at least they would have demonstrated some sort of willingness to work in the system. And that's exactly what I cited to the hearing officer earlier, I think it was last week. So make sure you put refuse to sign. In the case of, by the way, if they do refuse to sign, one of the things that you might want to state to that person is, listen, I'm not here to, this is not your admission to guilt. This is just you and I discussing that this event happened and that I'm talking to you about it, as opposed to an admission of guilt. Because that was at least the argument that this person had. That also provides, as another good reason why you should have that area at the bottom where it says, employees' comments. Because if they refuse to sign and you say, well, listen, if you don't refuse to sign it, listen, I'm giving you an opportunity to put in what you want here, it would help in that regard. But very good question, and interesting that it got brought up because I literally just had one of those just last week.
Okay, I think we have time for about 2 more questions, and then we're going to cut off and we'll follow up with everyone else offline. So our next question is, can we have an employee sign a generic voluntary resignation form that we created when we are informed that they are quitting?
You know, I kind of like, I mean, when I was at the division, I would adjudicate those claims. I didn't really care how it was formatted. I just needed to see that it was the signature. It's a lot of the worker. It is a lot nicer if you gave them a piece of paper and just said, can you just go over to that cubicle over there and just, you know, make 2 sentences stating. It has sort of I don't know, an unpolished legitimacy to it. If that's just a new word I made up there, unpolished legitimacy, where, you know, the claimant has of their own volition had completed it as opposed to just some form. You know, I think it would work. The only problem that I have for using written resignation letters is if there's any kind of motivation to try to get the claimant to submit a resignation letter. For example, I knew one employer when I had the division that would say, all right, well, you know, well, our policy is if you're going to quit, you need to, if you provide it in writing, we'll give you a you know, $10 gift card at McDonald's or something like that. And they got a lot of, you know, resignations in writing, you know, but, you know, if that was to be presented in a hearing, then I think you would probably squash